Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today I'm excited to be sharing with you some exclusive content. In today's video we're going to be taking a true first look at Ubisoft's upcoming Anno 117 Pax Romana. One quick caveat to be aware of, all the footage you're going to be seeing here is an in-development build, so the game is not done yet. This isn't finalized. This is a build that is still in development. Pax Romana is the newest edition in the Anno series, which is slated, at least according to Steam, to come out later this year. I don't have any details about launch dates, but what I do have today is an exclusive preview. Not truly exclusive, there's a few other content creators who were given access to this, but, semi-exclusive content. That I was given access to. I was able to participate in a demo session a couple of weeks ago now with some content creators taking a first look at Anno 117. Now, admittedly, I have never been a huge player of the Anno series, not for any lack of interest, but frankly just because it's it's just not something I played a whole lot of. Anno 1800 was super interesting looking to me, and I actually did buy it, but I didn't end up picking it up till a little bit later, and just kind of never got into it, and things, I was delayed, and we had kids, and, just one thing led to another, and never really got around to it. But in today's video, we're going to be looking at Anno 117 Pax Romana, which is an Anno game set during the height of the Five Good Emperors' reign of the Roman Empire, so it looks pretty interesting. Now you can see here, I'm just kind of deciding, you start this game off by placing your initial villa, and so in this particular moment, I'm like, where do I want to put it? Do I want to, probably not too close to the coast, but close enough to where my docks are, that it's not like out in the middle of nowhere. And then obviously with a city builder, you probably want to build roads, right? You want to connect things. And so in this game, I'll probably do a little bit more sort of neat road building, if you will, than maybe I otherwise would. We got some curved roads there, but we've got a nice little road from the dock to the governor's villa here, and then the game is kind of walking us through here, setting up our initial production items here. So timber is important to building a city, and there's sort of a production chain here. You build a woodcutter, then you build a lumber mill, and so we're trying to figure out, like, where does it make sense? And you can see the little percentage down there, I believe represents efficiency. That little gear icon represents efficiency. So, you want to put it somewhere that you've got 100% efficiency for your lumber mill. But then in addition to just, cutting the trees down, you also need to have a sawmill to actually go ahead and process those raw pieces of wood into timber, and so we go from having just a a lumber yard or whatever, a logging camp, into a sawmill, and that all needs to be connected by roads. You do want them to be fairly close to each other so that the resources are transported back and forth. And then you're going to need a warehouse too to make sure that you can store that stuff as you begin to use it here. Got a little guide here basically saying, hey, I'm going to be your advisor. Let's go ahead and let's work together. And so that's kind of what we got here on the screen. And we got a little bit of a hand-holding through the initial phases of this particular city. I believe this town was in a region called Latium, which there will be multiple different regions that you can play in as well. You can see here up top we've got a balance. We've got sort of on the top left we've got 1,800 or 18,000 gold. We've got a balance, which is sort of the current run rate of how much money we're spending. We have no one living here yet either, so that's also something to consider. So I'm looking at building my first homes here where our Roman citizens will live. Maybe this is tropico disease, but I don't want it too close to the actual, logging camps and sawmills. I'm assuming that's bad vibes to be in an industrial sector, but I don't want to be so far away that they, the residents can't make it to their place of work. So I went ahead and built 3 homes here, and you can see the homes they get built kind of instantly. Not all buildings do. But you can see here the homes were built instantly, and now it's kind of like, hey, if you want to have people here, you probably need food. So here's 2 different sort of chains you can build to build food. There's sort of a fish hut where you can build kind of a fish, I guess it's literally a fish hut, or you can get porridge. And to get porridge, you need to have an oat farm, and then you need to have a porridge kitchen, if you will. So you can see looking at building a oat farm so we can grow some oats, and then we'll have a kitchen to convert those oats to something edible. And so that's one of the things with the Anno games. Not all city builders do, but very clearly resources are linked to supply chain or sort of to production chains, and you need to produce everything along that chain in order to, actually get to an end product that is usable by your people. We've played other city builders on this game, and many of them use that mechanic, but worth considering. Then we put the porridge farm here, or the porridge kitchen, really close to the oat farm, so that we can actually go ahead and, again, turn those oats into something that people can eat, so they're not just gnawing on raw barley here. Now, admittedly, at this point, I was like, I also probably need more homes in order to make sure that we've got sufficient, people to work both the logging camps and the sawmill and the porridge kitchen. And oh my goodness, I forgot to actually put any fields out there. So I put the oat farm, but we didn't designate where the actual fields are. So we're building a nice little grid system. This is a city, more a modern city almost in terms of design here. But we'll get up here and we'll add some fields to the oat farm here in a moment. So you can see here, hey, where's the missing goods? Why did I do that? Oh, wait a minute. There's no field. We're forgetting something. Yes, we are. So we need to go ahead and we need to build some fields here. Each farm has sort of a maximum number of hexes, sections of the map that can be turned into a field here. So you can have, I think this one has a max of 80 is I think what I saw here. Module limit per farm. And then based on the size of the field you construct, there's also a cost to that as well. You can see like 98 gold is what that was going to cost here. So you can see I'm trying to build this out a little bit more than the maximum module limit. And there you've got the maximum module limit sort of preventing us from building further. I don't know if there's updates in the future for a farm that allow you to increase the module limit. Wouldn't shock me. We didn't get that far into the game to actually do that here today. So anyway, additionally, as part of this tutorial, you've got like objectives that'll pop up on the left side of the screen that'll tell you what you're supposed to try and do. But you can see we've got the oat field put out there. And now we're going to go ahead and build a warehouse that is close enough to these production locations so that stuff can be stored there. Did I end up doing that down there for the sawmill? I don't think I did. No, I didn't. Okay. Also looking at doing sort of a fisherman's wharf, if you will. It's called the Fisher Hut, and build it along the coast. It doesn't really tell me a whole lot about like if there's good fish in a given area. I guess it's just assumed these guys will go down boats and find something. I didn't see any kind of like indicator of like richness of the harvest there. I tried to put a little bit out of the way of the main dock just because I know these games are big on trade. I don't know how easy it is to have like your trading vessels crowded out by fishing vessels. So I did try and put it on that same beach, but a little bit further away. And then it's going to be, I think they're going to be, is it sardines or what kind of fish is that? Yeah, sardines. They're going to be getting sardines that'll be processed into food. There are different types of fish too, like mackerel is also another resource in the game as well. So that's something else to sort of be aware of. You can see here there's our warehouse. There's a different type of resources that we have. There's our oat farm. It's in the process of producing oats. We've got our porridge kitchen there. Going to make lovely, lovely porridge for all of our tiny Tims. And we'll see how people are feeling here. There's a trader's hall. In theory, we could get more ships. Although there's also like a shipyard and a whole production facility for building new ships. But this is a trader's hall. You can see here we've got some resources. The game's kind of indicating like, hey, you can put someone on here, send them to some nearby towns, and then you could do trade stuff or do missions, which can be given to you as well. There's also apparently like some river slots. So you can see here these different icons that represent where certain types of buildings can be built along the river. So like you could have a mill or something like that would be along the river where it would like turn wheat into flour or something like that, I believe is one of the chains. And they have to be on particular types of hexes, right? You need the current from the river to actually turn the mill to grind the wheat into flour and whatnot here. So Libertus has passed you, straining under a heavy load of timber. He carries hopeful air. One who's recently celebrated his Mansurum, freedom from slavery. Hails you as governor, and he gives you some choices to do here. So we go ahead and I guess we bought his cargo from him, or bought his whatever from him. So that influences different things, right? So we get 20 timber. We bought that from him, and then it costs us some money. You can see here the denarii, which is our currency, is sort of trailing downward, if you will. We're down to 17,000. We were at 18,000 not that long ago. Our run rate right now is negative 160, and so that's something to be mindful of. I don't see anywhere a clock on here that indicates what year we're in, so I don't know if it's just like vaguely, vaguely sometime in the Pax Romana period. But I would also add that this is a preview build. This is not the final version of the game, so reiterate that. This is not the final version of the game. This is a demo build that was presented to a group of creators, and we were given access to play it. So this game is very much still, being worked on, and so it is not like it's not like a finished version. I don't know when the game will come out. The only thing I've seen so far is what's on their Steam page, which is 2025. So we'll see what that means, but at least right now, so far anyway, we're playing through the initial period here. It seems very playable, seems enjoyable. We've got a lot more stuff to do here. I played for about 2.5 hours or so in this demo here. So you can see now that we've actually done sort of the bare minimum and we're providing food for our people, the game is saying like, hey, you should build some public buildings. Have markets where people can, all get together and buy goods. Have taverns where you can, entertain people and make them happy. So markets generate economic activity. Taverns generate happiness. And you can see here this, what I assume is a positive impact on these people. They've got this little like green chevron pointing upwards, which I assume indicates like, hey, this will have a positive impact on everybody inside this circle. Anybody outside the circle is not impacted by it. Some buildings have negative traits too, so we built a market and we're going to build a tavern also. But some buildings have a negative impact on people around them, and you'll get like a red chevron pointed downward, and so that's something also to sort of just be aware of. So our quest here is to provide public service to people, which I believe is done by the market and the tavern there. We did 2. And then, let's see here. You have the ability to like level up residents as you meet their basic needs. So, some residents, maybe all they need is a certain type of food. Then they'll maybe need certain types of goods or certain types of entertainment. And as you level them up, you can get kind of, I guess, richer and richer citizens that fulfill different needs, right? So there's like plebes, and then there's like different types of citizens which can do different types of jobs in the game as well. So certain jobs, you need certain types of people in the city to do here. But you can see here we're up to, what is that, about 55 people in the city right now, a negative 167 income. We've got 23 or 20, we've got 10 happiness, I guess, smile there on the lower right, on the upper portion of the screen here. But we've got 2 types of food too, which I don't know if that really directly influences anything here, but you can see the residence requires certain types of public goods, requires food, requires different things to level up. So another one of the things people like is, I guess this is technically fashions, but it's kind of like clothes, right? You can build playas, you can build tunics, you can have different types of sort of fashion options for people, and so that can be sold at the market, which we already have, but then you also have to have a hemp farm to actually grow the hemp to make certain types of clothing, and then you need so actually first, before I get too far ahead of ourselves, so I'm trying to figure out like where do we put the hemp farm. I don't want to destroy all of our forests. I want to leave room for a lumber mill because we're going to need, or logging camps, because we're going to need more lumber here as the city continues to grow. You can see here we're spreading out our hemp field here. This one has a slightly smaller limit here of 60, whereas the oat field was 80. Not very prettily put together there, but we do have a hemp farm here now. And then we'll connect it with a road to the rest of the city. If you don't connect roads, by the way, buildings don't produce. So you do need to make sure those buildings are connected. So we've got the hemp farm can go ahead and build a spinner now, which is, again, also on the chain, the supply chain here. And the spinner apparently has a positive impact on, you know, everybody around it. So that's cool, I guess. It also generates income. You know, they're making clothes that can then be sold. I like trying to keep my commercial districts sort of all in close and my residential districts in close, but it does pose a challenge with that circle because, like, I didn't quite reach the last house, I think, on the lower left-hand corner of my residential area. So that's something also you just kind of got to be aware of because, you know, you want to make sure you're influencing the people the way you want them to be influenced, even while you're trying to, like, make your city design pretty and enjoyable and whatnot. Just built a sheep farm as well. Apparently there's a limit to only 3 sort of hexes. I don't know why I'm calling them hexes. They're very much squares. 3 tiles, if you will, for the sheep farm to occupy. Pig farms, by the way, no one wants to live near there, so we'll get to that a little bit later. But, you know, all these buildings so far have had a positive impact, but certainly they do not all. And there you can see me like, hey, maybe only like 2/3 of my houses will actually be impacted by that building, but whatever. Okay, so the sheep farm is now connected to roads. The buildings here to build some fashion for our people. And hopefully that'll allow us to start upgrading some of these homes and getting, you know, more lucrative residents into the town, although they will have higher demands and things like that for them to be happy as well. So that's kind of where we're at here, just waiting a little bit while some of these things stroll along. I said buildings don't build instantly, but they kind of do. I'm wondering if they only don't build instantly if you don't have enough resources or workers for them or something. Because I know a little bit later on we've got a scenario where one of our buildings doesn't build instantly, but it might just be due to lack of people. So one other thing we haven't really talked a whole lot about here is on this right-hand side up at the top, there's an island happiness score, and then there's an island income score. And the island income score is not like your profitability. You can see here on the left, we've still got that negative 162, which is, again, our burn rate. The island income, my understanding, is basically like what is the total amount of money that is being generated on your island. And I suppose that in theory allows you to better manage like your expenses. If you see, hey, I'm making 68 income, but we're on a negative 162 income pace, then what that's telling me is the gross is way short of where the net is at. And so it's not like it's just a minor tweak, a few things here and there. I need to triple my income without adding expenses to actually balance the budget here. And that's going to be something that is relevant a bit later in this playthrough. I do figure things out a bit, but just sort of, you know, if you're wondering, we've got a decent amount of cash right now, 15,000 still. So even though we're running a negative balance, we've still got quite a bit of money we can spend to build this town out. We're only about 20 minutes in to this playthrough here, but yeah. So you can see here we've built a sheep farm, we've got a warehouse, and we've got we're starting to get some nicer, or will have the ability to have some nicer homes here shortly, and we'll look at that in a moment or two as well. But just again, very much getting ourselves situated. We've got here sort of this tutorial quest. You get different quests and objectives throughout the game where it's like, hey, you should do these things, and that may drive the plot, it may drive things along. Right now we're sort of loosely following the tutorial. It's not hand-holding. You can see it's letting us build what we want to build, but then it's giving us some suggestions here, for example. So it's like, hey, we should attract a higher grade of plebeians to our town so that we've, you know, got better, I don't know, maybe we need to build a middle class. Right now the folks we have are pretty much peasants, and certain types of jobs, I believe, are only done by certain types of residents here. So we've got a Roman residence here. We can go ahead and upgrade it and then get a new type of population. You can see the building changes. And actually what will also happen is you will see a different type of resident up here. Just underneath where you see that run rate of negative 129 and the population is 77, you've got two numbers there, a plus 25 and a plus 5, which represent the different types of population in the town and how many extra ones you have beyond the jobs you have for them. So the plus 25 means you've got 25 more people than you have jobs for that type of citizen. The plus 5 likewise means you've got 5 more than you have for that type of citizen. And so you kind of have unemployment, but I don't know that it matters all that much. It does matter if you have a shortage. Then those buildings won't run at efficiency, like farms and like an artisan's warehouse or an artisan's shop or whatever will use different types of people. And so you know, you don't want you need folks to work the fields, to work the mines, to cut down the trees, but then you also need folks to go ahead and I don't know, make the swords or whatever. I'm assuming blacksmith would be a different type of population there. But you can see we went ahead and we built a wheat field. We need a water mill. This is my first building that will be attached along the river hexes there. You can see I was trying to build it in the middle of nowhere. That didn't work. And then I had to go ahead and build it along the river. And when I built it along the river, it had to go on one of those sort of hexes of where is there something that, you know, there's a spot on the river that they can build. Now we're trying to build a bakery. Apparently bakeries are not entirely positive. They have a positive trait, but they also have negative. You got that up and then down. Also, you see this fire safety aspect here, so we're going to go ahead and I don't know if I'm going to build a garum works. I don't have all those things in the production chain for this, but I think we still build it. But you can see like these up chevron, down chevron things influence happiness and whatnot. And so we're building these buildings, and they may not necessarily be super popular with our citizens here. Anyway, so we also don't have all of these buildings being built, right? You can see some of these buildings have not started to be built, and that is because I don't have enough resources. What I need is clay hemp, or clay heat, which, you know, generates clay, and then I need a tiller who will turn the clay from sort of raw clay and mold it into tiles for buildings. Now, this one is just pure, unadulterated negative impacts, negative happiness, and so I'm going to put the tiller or tiler away. Why did I say tiller? The tiler away from the rest of the population, where its like influence circle is removed from the rest of the population, so it doesn't make my citizens unhappy, because it's kind of, you know, no one wants to live near a refinery, no one wants to live near you know, a tiler either. So meanwhile, these buildings that aren't building because we need resources that we do not have. I have been able to build them, but they're not able to complete until the resources we need in some cases are complete. It's kind of got a nice little like almost hand drawing like blueprint look for some of these buildings as well, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, so we're gonna have wheat, we're gonna have a flour mill, we're gonna have sort of a bakery to turn that flour into bread, and that should be a much nicer food for our peasants to eat than oat made into porridge, if you will, here. We did get a little bit short of some of those more advanced workers here. You've got a little -6 icon at the top. Some of these new buildings we built require better workers. So we've got the 26 of sort of the ordinary plebeians, but we don't have enough of the ordinary workers in order to you know, keep our factories or buildings that require those types of workers all running at 100%. So we've only got the 3, I think, upgraded homes. Eventually I'll realize that, I think. But right now it's more of like, why don't... Yep, there you go. Plebeian workforce, -6. We've got a shortage there. It does take time after you upgrade a building also for people to move in. So, you know, people need to want to live where you're at. So anyway, going ahead and laying down some new buildings here. Plebeian workers still short. So that's, you know, obviously not a good thing here. We're not seeing any change here as we built those buildings. So what I actually need to do is I need to go ahead and upgrade the residents, the Roman residents, to the next sort of level in that house, and then that will fix our shortage here eventually. We're also working. We're not producing any tiles because we don't have we have an insufficient workforce there. So you can see that little update there where it said, "Hey, you have an insufficient workforce," and so we're not actually producing what we should be producing because we don't have people doing the work. The good news for us is that when I do realize that, we do have these buildings, all of their needs are met, so the most basic citizen type could upgrade. We probably also need a fire service as well. I don't think we have anything here, and especially as we start to build some industrial buildings like Tyler's, there's a big risk of fire in the city. That was always a major concern sort of in this era of history. So you can see the circle of where the fire department will cover. It actually is outside the radius of the industrial buildings to the north. But I'm not too worried about fire spreading south either. So that's also something to be mindful of. And then you've got a police building also. So you've got to manage crime. You know, you want people to want to live there, and so you've got that. And then you've got medical buildings, kind of like a hospital, if you will. Fights illness in the city. You don't want plague breaking out and everybody dying. You know, another big concern in this era here. But you can see I can cover all my residents if I build the Medici here. Although, again, they want certain types of resources I don't have enough of. I don't have enough timber here. We're down to 9. So maybe we need more logging camps also. But hit a little bit of a snag here. We've built a bunch of stuff that's not all getting constructed right away due to resource and population shortages. I would also like to just add that I really do feel like I've built a decent-looking city so far. It's maybe not realistic looking, but looks good to me. I'm going to pat myself on the back to say this town looks decent. And so what I'm doing right now is just waiting to see, like, hey, are these new buildings I built, are they going to bring in more people? Do I need to wait a little while for the actual resources to be produced? That's kind of what I'm waiting to see right now as we see these buildings here that are slated to be built but are not being built yet. And then as our Tyler up in the upper right-hand corner does not yet have a sufficient workforce to actually do all the things it needs to do. Although we did see we are producing sheep, we are producing hemp. You can see those little icons pop up where, like, you've got a resource item that's completed and you get like a little 1 or a little whatever next to the icon to tell you what's going on. So plebeian workforce still plus or -6. We've got a island population of 135. It's broken down. Does it tell me? It doesn't tell me here what the actual breakdown is workforce-wise based on type, whether it's plebeian or otherwise. But, yeah. So, let's see here. So I think what we need to do, because you got, like, down here in the lower right, you've got sort of the level 1 icon and the level 2 Roman numeral icon, the guy with the hat, and then the lady with the shawl. Those are the 2 different types of citizens here. I'm realizing, hey, maybe I should build more homes as I continue to build out this further and further. And actually it has a positive aspect as well, because residents do generate income for you. And so you can see our run rate is down to -101 in terms of the cash we're burning through here. And then obviously I'm going to lock those buildings down here. But plebeian residents here, those buildings have actually filled out, so they're at their max capacity now. So what I need to do is I need to go ahead and upgrade some more of these basic buildings here to get more workers, because right now we only have the 4, I guess, 0.5 residences. I don't know how you have a 0.5, but that's what it's saying anyway. Those new homes cut our balance to -96, so we did actually get a slightly better income situation here. And then we've still got it looks like plebeians work in the clay pits in the Tyler instead of the other type of population here. Also, maybe build some residents closer to those particular buildings so the workforce is closer, but the plebeians are going to want nicer buildings anyway. So that's a little bit of a mistake on my part to put those homes up there because they're not going to want to live there. Also, none of that stuff up there, the Tyler, those new homes we just built, none of those are actually inside the radius of the fire departments we've built or the police departments we built. So they're kind of like in a forgotten industrial zone that's sort of up there on its own. But hey, look, as we continue to build more homes, the balance gets closer and closer because those homes are generating tax revenues for us. There is another level. There's at least a 3rd level to build up, but you can see here I finally realized, hey, you need to upgrade these residents to plebeians, and you can see here now we've gone from -6 plebeians to -1 in the workforce, and so we've sort of upgraded and welcomed more people to the middle class. We've got a city status is now a small town, leveled up from 1 to 2, and so I think we'll start getting to do some trading here soon, but most of the buildings here should be kind of operating fully now that we're only at a -1 for the population here. I don't know why the wheat field isn't building. I don't know if we're just like still short on the timber or other resources. Perhaps. We're still short on the tiles. Maybe that's why. Maybe they need to produce the tiles. Because we did get more workers, but they weren't producing anything before. You've got a lot of different like military buildings here too. You can build like ramparts and towers and sword, you know, armor stuff, training ground. And I was actually just waiting here to see if the plebeians would fill in, like if there was a, maybe it took a little while for the home to convert over to plebeians, but eventually decided, all right, we waited long enough, the population's not changing, let's go ahead and expand more, and now we've got +4 plebeian workforce, so we've got sufficient workers to work those buildings. The icons over both the clay pit and the tilers have changed, and so they're no longer waiting for workers to be there so that they can operate. They're now there doing what they need to do, although I think I actually need to build a warehouse. Balance continues to improve, -77. We're working our way toward a balanced budget. And then this level 0 up here is research. So we haven't actually done any research here. If we click that, you can see it brings up another screen where you can do research. We can't do that quite yet, but we will get into that a little bit later, where we can actually do some R&D and try and improve our city through that, because there is a whole tech tree thing as well for this particular game. And now I'm thinking like maybe I need more lumber. I've only got the 17 in the warehouse right now, or sorry, 11 in the warehouse right now, and I'd like, you know, I'd like a little bit more wood so we can keep up with the demands of building this island rapidly. Again, we haven't really touched the trade stuff yet. It's a big part of Anno games traditionally. We are all on islands, and so like there are other, that mini map down there in the lower left, it's like you haven't discovered anything, and that's because, you know, there are other islands out there with AIs on them that we want to trade with, but we're not yet to that point. Right now I'm trying to figure out where to put the logging camp. You can see the percentage efficiency drops when you've got two camps too close to each other, so maybe it's not worth it there. Flip side, do I really want to put a logging camp over by residential houses? Eventually I decide yes. I didn't see any red chevrons down indicating that would be a problem, although I think it would be. And yeah, and then we probably need another sawmill too, because the one we already have is way far away from the second logging camp, and so we'll put it here on the roads next to the industrial section here. So I guess all these homes, these plebeians who had their upgraded homes, are all now just happen. They're all in an industrial zone now. Sorry, sandwiched between a factory and you know, another factory, I guess, on each side. Don't have the sufficient resources to upgrade these homes a third time. Don't really have a need to at the moment, but yeah. So we've built that. Waiting for things to trudge along a little bit here, and we're missing charcoal. Oh, that was the other thing I forgot. So that's where like the tile, the production chain comes in. You've got the clay, you've got the tiler, but then you also need the charcoal kiln to generate charcoal that can be used, you know, in the tiling process. And again, this is a -3 fire risk, -3 happiness, negative impact red chevron down, so we're putting it far away from the bulk of our residences so they can walk there and rather than make people angry. Apparently we have a low health as well in this particular town, although I was going to say I built a hospital, but it hasn't been built yet. So keep that in mind. But we probably should have another you know, fire department closer to these industrial areas as well, just so if fire does break out, they don't all burn down. I think they're far enough away that they're kind of fire gapped from the rest of our city, but it certainly would be annoying to have to rebuild those buildings. They're not cheap and whatnot. A fair number of people upset, -9. We've got 205 income for the town, so we must have over 300 in expenses, 131 happiness, and is that a 61 fire risk? I'm not really sure, but in any event. You know, we've been going for a little bit over 30 minutes now as we look to build some more things out here, but we've been going for almost, you know, a little bit over 30 minutes. We've kind of got the bare bones, like the basics stood up here. Fire departments, police departments, homes, production facilities, making sure you're connecting all those elements of the production chain so that the item can be completed. We haven't really started to delve into trade or reaching out to different groups and the different islands. That will come later And we certainly haven't done anything about signing like trade deals with anybody. Again, that'll come later. But honestly, this seems like almost a good point to stop. Kind of got the bare minimum out here, a somewhat viable town, income notwithstanding. I think maybe that makes a good stopping point here as I look to put a market up here in the north as well, closer to this sort of second group of homes we built. I can put a tavern there also. Make sure all the workers are happy. You always need a nice place to just sort of hang out and throw a few back after a long day's work, perhaps. But yeah, the game's going to begin to expand a bit more here shortly. We'll have some more options and some more considerations, but this almost feels like a natural stopping point, as I'm still waiting to see why these aren't being built. I think I can rush build it, just instant finalize the building by spending extra money. So you can see we just did that for the health building here. We've got the Garium Works also we can do that with, and the bakery we don't have the resources for it. So I didn't quite see exactly why the game... There must have been something I missed in terms of why those weren't building, because all the other buildings we had built previously were building instantly. Maybe it's population, because now that I auto-built those, you can see we're -2 on plebeians again, so we need to expand some more houses also. But now it's telling me to take the ship we have, the lone ship we have, abroad and send this dude to introduce himself to some other kingdom that we're going to run into here. So I think this is as good of a spot as any to wrap this intro of Pax Romana. You can see the newest edition of the Anno series. Before we really get into shipborne trade, we can probably look at that in our next episode. But yeah, that's, I think, where we're going to leave things here. Seems like as natural a stopping point as any. So I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. A little bit shorter than some of my other ones, but there will be a follow-up. I want to thank the folks at Ubisoft for including me in the group of folks who were able to get access to this and play a development build of this. Again, this is not a final version of the game quite yet, but I'm looking forward to it. I know Anno was one of those games I was looking forward to in 2025. I had just missed the previous Anno game in the 1800s. I haven't played it, but really did want to get into it and just got sidetracked. And I have a real interest in the 5 Good Emperors period as well. So this seemed like a period that was really interesting. I think you see a lot of games that look just at sort of the Republic era. And then you look at games that kind of like vaguely hand wave at the Empire. But most of these kind of games look at the Republican period or the the late Republic, early Empire period. Very few games like this, I think, look at the sort of height of the Empire or the later declines of the Empire. Often gets short shrift. And so I'm excited to see how this plays out, right? I hope you guys did enjoy the video. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up here. Until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying once again, thank you very much for watching. And until next time, I'm out. Bye-bye.